Alright, time to talk about Astonishing X-Men, though. And we'll look at first the characters that we do have available to us right now. Although I realize actually it's probably best to look at it at msf.gg rather than here. So let's do that. Here. Oh wait, hold on. Here. Okay. Actually, that's the blog. But let's... Okay, let's go through the blog anyways, really quick. I'm sure that you guys have already read this, but I want to know what your guys' take are on the Astonishing X-Men kits. So let's go through Jubilee really quick here. So most of this, what we found out is the basic. This is actually pretty good. Primary target for 290, 70% chance to blind. Actually, I have the photos. Where are my photos? Hold on. I have the photos from the strike time. Let me bring that up actually really quick here as well. So this is actually what it looked like in... So this is the basic firework blast. This is what it looked like in the strike time video. So as you guys can see here, that the T4s adds 20% chance to blind. So if you don't have the T4s, it's only 50% chance to blind. So which isn't very good. And unfortunately, it's only guaranteed in raids. So I'm kind of disappointed about this one. Not sure about how you guys feel about that. You know, I don't think it would be that OP if it was 100% everywhere. She is a legendary character, and it's only on basic. She doesn't have blind elsewhere in her kit. So I don't see why they couldn't have just added this to outside of raids. You know, I don't know if that would have really countered any particular team just for having this on the basic, but... And then I want to bring up the special. I have actually photos of all of them. So this includes the T4s as well. So it kind of gives you an idea of whether or not you actually need the T4s. So looking at the difference between level 6 and level 7, this is the special where all of the Astonishing X-Men team kind of like gang up on one character. So if you have level 6, it's only offense up to self and 1 random Astonishing X-Men ally. So that's a total of 2. So you need the T4s because then it goes to the whole team. So you go from 2 to 5 with the T4, so this is really important. And the assists also isn't from all X-Men either. So I think you're going to want to, if you are someone who's going to be getting Jubilee in the next patch, then I think that you're going to be wanting to get this T-Force here as well. And then her ultimate, which I have here as well. I don't know if you actually need to put the T-Force in here. It's just damage, but it is a lot. So 100% damage to primary target, 50% to secondary, and then 20% piercing. So I guess that goes from 300 to 400. Which is a fair bit of extra damage. So if you do, I mean, she is getting unlocked at 5-star. So if you have like 5 yellow, 5 red on her, if you happen to get that, then you're probably going to want, realistically, I think on all of the legendary characters these days, you kind of want to max them out. I have Doc Ock maxed out, but I guess there is a priority in terms of what you want to do. And then finally, of course, her passive here, Mallrat, fill speed bar, but I don't know if you need this necessarily. This isn't a huge priority in my opinion. You do get 10% max health, which is good, but it's not as great as like say 20 or higher. And it's only in raids. This damage part is only in raids, so it really depends on where you're going to be using her, which of course is probably going to be in raids, but I don't know if this necessarily is the highest priority T4s here. And I must say, actually, you know, for as much slack as I've been giving for Jubilee, I do like her model. I think her model is a really good nod. I have a really good nod to the 90s X-Men cartoon, which I've been watching a lot on Disney Plus lately. And yeah, so I'm actually quite happy with the anime. I'm always happy with the animation side of things from the game, and I think that is something that should be applauded. I think their animation team is really, really good. And yeah, I think they look great. And same with Bishop while we're here. I have a photo of Bishop here. Really love Bishop's photo, his model. I think Bishop is really, really awesome. He's really cool looking, and in terms of his kit, I mean, we'll look at it on the blog post here, and I think it's actually not too bad. And let's just sort of remove all these photos here and go through. We'll just skip down to Bishop because we just saw most of this on the photos there for Jubilee. So Bishop, I mean, he is a blaster. He's basically like a better Cable to some degree. You know, he is a cosmic blaster like Cable. But the base, unfortunately, you kind of really do. You don't necessarily have to have Jubilee, but his damage is going to be hampered a little bit by not having Jubilee. There is a couple things that, you know, I was talking about in my Discord that I'm not sure what it means exactly. So I was wondering with his basic, with Beam Shot here, It says gain +1 counter up to a maximum of 4. Why do we need counter, though? Because if you scroll down really quickly to his passive, it says this. Gain 100% chance to counterattack. So, I don't know what you guys think here, but I was wondering if this only occurs during this. So, the text comes after this. While this character has taunt, gain 20% damage reduction, and then it says gain +100% chance to counterattack. So, is he only 100% chance to counterattack while he's taunting? It doesn't make this exactly clear because it's just regular bullets, you know, one after another. So it almost makes it look like it's separate, like everything's separate. You know, maybe this is together. I don't know. Because it makes me wonder then the basic is sort of redundant here. If it is 100% chance to counterattack, then why do you need counter stacks? Which actually could make it worse because those counter stacks could get flipped. So yeah, I don't know. Let me know in the messages what you're in the chat, live chat there, what you guys think about that. The special retaliation laser, he has some really low cooldown, so I think this is really cool. Energy cost 3 out of 3, attack primary target for 300% damage. If Jubilee is an ally, gain offense up, attack primary target for 400% damage instead. Offense up and defense up to Jubilee, so, and it always crits. So damage wise, on such a low cooldown, I think he's got some potential here. I think that there's quite a bit of damage. Of course, it's even better if you have Jubilee as an ally. 300%. I don't know if that's very high for an ability. You know, without Jubilee, the 400% makes more sense. And then the ultimate is 270 if charged, attack for 540%. This is a lot. So this is going to be dependent on how often he's getting hit, because he gets charged when he gets hit. So you're going to want to time this properly, that at least he'll have this on his turn when he's charged. This might take some micromanagement a lot, because you'll want to make sure that he has charged before you use it, even though it is on a low cooldown. So I guess that'll be up to you whether or not you want to go for the 270 or the 540 and try to wait a turn, or not, and depending on the turn order, of course, as well. But yeah, his passive is really interesting. On spawn, if charged, gain regeneration and clear charge. So on spawn, gain taunt and defense up. This is really nice, by the way, the taunt defense up, even though he only gets that for one hit. On attack, gain charge, fill speed bar by 30%, and then clear taunt. So I think what this is, I imagine this is what is planned, is that you're gonna get hit, you're gonna lose the taunt, but you're gonna gain the charge, get the 30% speed bar, and you're gonna go right next. And so since the ultimate is 2 out of 2 and it's available on turn 1, I think right at the beginning of the gate, you know, whether that's for Alliance War or something else, you know, you're going to get to ultimate at 540% damage as soon as somebody hits you, because that's going to give you the speed bar that you need to go next, unless you're going up against some really high speed bar team, I guess. But other than that, it should work that way. And he gains taunt if his health is above 80%, and he gets defense. So he's always getting defense up and taunt at the same time, which is really nice. So, and he has a damage reduction. When this character has taunt, gain 20% damage reduction. So that being said, he's not taking that many hits because he loses the taunt every time he gets hit. But, you know, he's still a pretty good off tank. He's getting damage reduction. He's always having defense up when he does taunt. I think he's a really solid character, and actually all of this is available without Jubilee on the team, so, or any Astonishing X-Men for that matter. So I think Bishop is a very good character. Fingers crossed that he might be a campaign event character, but we don't know. There is also, of course, official confirmation that White Tiger is going to be coming to the game, and we saw that in the Strike Time video, where it mentioned in the sort of the chat bar below, in the Alliance chat bar, or whatever you want to call that, the global Alliance chat bar, it says like a rank up for White Tiger, so that was mentioned on the Strike Time video. Oopsies, but so we're getting definitely for sure Jubilee, Bishop, White Tiger. Fingers, I don't know. People were saying maybe Moon Knight might be coming to the game. I don't, hasn't been officially confirmed or not, but yeah. And in raids, of course, he does all this stuff with, you know, he basically off tanks for the Astonishing X-Men. So I'm actually really looking forward to Bishop. I think he has a really cool anime. His model is really nice. He looks really good, and I'm looking forward to getting some star levels on him. Now, whether or not I actually plan on doing this for the entire Astonishing X-Men, I don't know. And I want to talk about this really quick as well while we're here, before we move on to talking about Doom raids here. And why am I having a... Where's Astonishing X-Men here? They don't have... Wait a minute. There we go. Astonishing flavor. Apparently it's a flavored on MSF.gg. Anyway, so we have Iceman, Kitty Pryde, and beasts. So specifically, I want to look at Iceman and Kitty Pryde. I want to go over their 7775 kits again, and I want to talk about some of the concerns that people were having with Iceman. Some concerns that some people do have with Iceman, and hopefully people, you guys are still here in the live chat. I haven't seen anyone say anything in a little while. Maybe you're just that enthralled into what's going on here, but normally people end up talking. So hopefully the chat still works. Maybe someone wants to test that for me just to make sure I'm not like talking to myself here. Anyways, so for Iceman, what a lot of people were talking about was this here on his special. So you guys might note that if you check through msf.g, there we go, thank you, I was just double checking, msf.gg, you can check his stats. Now, Iceman's focus isn't very good, so there is some concern that here, this freezing impact, attack primary target for 280, if the target has slow, this attack always crits and applies stun. So there is some concern about this part here, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit because I don't know if you guys can have, there we go, it's a bit bigger there. So this part here, always applies stun, and his focus is kind of low. If you check out his stats and you compare it, if you arrange all of the characters by focus, Iceman's pretty middle of the road. I don't think he has above average focus. It's pretty average, which means that it's not that great. So I'm wondering, how often is this going to land? Is he going to struggle to apply stun on this? Is it going to be guaranteed? Someone was making a comparison between Iceman and Yelena. How Yelena's special, I believe, like always steals buffs or something, like despite it not having to make that focus resistance check. So I don't know if this is going to be the case for Iceman or not. And maybe this would be a guaranteed stun, but typically there is a focus versus resistance check for these kind of things. So I'm wondering how good this is going to be, this move in particular. Obviously, this is not an issue for the basic, which gets 1000% extra focus, but it doesn't for the special. So I'm kind of curious why he didn't get, do we really care that the basic gets... I mean, I guess, because it's primary and adjacent targets, they get slow. That's pretty good. This is like a mini Quake basic, not as good as Quake's basic. I'm surprised we didn't get a 2-turn slow. Quake is actually the only character in the game with a 2-turn slow on basic, so that's pretty good, just on an aside there. But yeah, so I'm thinking that we have to keep an eye on this one, because I think this could be an issue. Now, of course, for Ice Slide, bury yourself for 30%, that's actually really good. Because I'm pretty sure, because it's his max health, doesn't barrier cap at 30%? So he's basically getting a full barrier when he does this, I'm pretty sure, because a character's barrier, it's not 40, right? I'm pretty sure it's 30%. So he's basically getting a full barrier here, and he's attacking all enemies, applying slow, +1 slow, which means it can stack, which is nice. Yeah, he has a really, really good kit, but I think Freezing Impact is something that you're going to want to keep an eye on. How often it applies stun, if his focus really is good enough. This kind of reminds me of Star-Lord, because Star-Lord's special, he really, the blind, the 2/3 person blind, he really struggles to land that, and sometimes, depending on where you're using them, and especially in raids, higher level raids, he really struggles to land that. So if the enemies that you're going up against don't have, decreased resistance or anything like that, maybe Iceman might struggle as well, but we'll have to make sure that, we'll have to see whether or not that does or not. Other than that, obviously, Iceman has a really good kit, and actually, realistically, you could probably use Iceman outside of his own team because of this here. So in raids, lower damage by -30% for all enemies with slow. So if you're using someone like Emma Frost, and you want to slot in Iceman with, let's say, 3 symbiotes or something like that, you probably could. You'd have to run Anti-Venom probably to keep him alive, to keep Iceman alive, but I don't see why you couldn't run, say, Carnage, Symbiote Spider-Man, Anti-Venom, and then Emma and Iceman, something like that, and then you still get that 30% damage reduction, which is really nice. You don't have to actually run them in the team with the Astonishing X-Men to get that bonus, which I think is really great. And of course, he is getting that lower armor -20% for what it's worth. I mean, that's not a huge deal. I don't think armor is really a huge deal in raids. I've never come across it where I'm just not doing damage, but hey, every little bit helps. And this little extra damage that he's getting on enemy turn, which is really nice as well. Like, he has a really, really nice kit. I said crit. He has a really nice kit. And on enemy slow, barrier yourself. So, there's a lot of barriers coming around. So he has a lot of ways to protect himself. This is kind of neat. This is like an Ultron kind of esque thing. He has a chance to revive once per match. I could see this being a thing for war. So I don't know if you'd use them on war defense or war offense. Maybe they could be a war defense team with this kind of stuff here. But then at least Iceman would revive once, kind of like an Ultron-esque thing, and maybe if you're lucky you might be able to heal him back up to full before the match ends, and then maybe it just repeats itself again, kind of like Ultron. Who knows? But he actually does have a really nice kit. I am really disappointed that he's going to be going into Blitz though, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are also going to be really disappointed about that, because realistically that means that you know, from a yellow star perspective, you're probably only going to be getting 3-star probably on him over the course of both blitzes. If you're a really strong blitzer, you might be able to get 4-star. I'm hoping to get 4-star myself. Unsure if I'll be buying him or not yet. Depends on when he comes out and whether or not I feel it's worth it. At the very least, I know I'll be getting Jubilee, so maybe I might, if I get some good red stars, I always pull red stars first. If I get really crap red stars, I normally don't buy or don't consider buying, but if I do, then maybe I might. So we'll have to wait and see for that. I'm pretty sure Barrier is limited to 30% of their max health, so that's why I think that this is actually a full Barrier, and that's actually, if you look between number 6 and number 7, or level 6 and level 7, it's 20% to 30%, so I'm pretty sure at level 7, this is a full Barrier, essentially, for himself, which is really nice. So you're definitely going to want T4s in Ice Slide. Really good ability there. And so we're not going to really talk about Beast. Beast has been out for a while. We kind of know what he does. He's kind of like a mediocre healer, not really a healer, kind of support character that adds buffs and stuff to everyone else. So he's good, but I don't think we really need to talk about him too much. So I do think that Kitty Pryde does have a really interesting kit, but I do think that there's some redundancies here a little bit with Jubilee. So maybe we'll jump back really quickly after this to Jubilee. But so we have the basic here that clears 2 positive effects. So that's really good for a basic attack. You know, they need that. They don't have a ton of ways to clear pauses. Mostly comes from Kitty. But this here, Lockheed Blast, it might be 40% of max. Maybe I'm wrong. Either way, he's going to have a lot of ways to get that barrier anyways. I don't remember if it's 30% or 40% for barrier max barrier rather. But Lockheed Blast here, attack all enemies for 280, apply offense down for 2 turns to all enemies that aren't taunting, and then flip taunt to defense down. And then if any enemy had taunt, fill this character's speed bar at 30%. So I want to jump really quickly back to Jubilee's kit, because Jubilee has this here. Where is it? Offense down on, is it the ultimate? Splitting Atoms? Yeah, in raids. So here we go. Ultimate Splitting Atoms, in raids, apply offense down for 2 turns to all enemies. So I feel like this is really redundant, but this does allow you to sort of go back and forth, I suppose, you know, between using Lockheed Blast, which is also on a 4 cooldown, and this one here, Splitting Atoms, in raids, apply offense down for 2 turns to all enemies. Now granted, this is in raids only, whereas in Kitty Pryde's case, actually this isn't raids only. So one could argue that Kitty Pryde's special is actually better in some ways, because this can be used at least everywhere, and Jubilee's is kind of disappointing in the fact that it only runs in raids. So yeah, there is that. And then of course this is kind of so-so. Her Mischievous Spirit alt, I mean obviously it's nice because it applies Disrupted. If target is tech, apply Disrupt for 2 turns. Now of course this could be a pretty easy counter to Ultron. I'm trying to think of some other tech characters in the game. I mean, possibly Dr. Doom. When more people get Dr. Doom on the defense, maybe Kitty Pryde could actually disrupt Doom, and then he won't pick up his buffs from his Doom bots, and we might have something to talk about here about that. I don't know if chat has anything to say about this move. If there's any other major tech characters that might be buff dependent that this might actually, you know, be valid against, but to me this really shouts like Ultron and Dr. Doom, and it's kind of like those sort of bigger characters right now that we might want to target. That being said, you know, there's tech characters in raids probably, I'm sure, so it's unavoidable, cannot be blocked. It's decent, but I think it's this thing. I think it's her special that's really good. Offense down for 2 turns, 4 cooldown. It's really nice, I think. And of course the passive, we have to talk about the passive a little bit while we're here. 30% dodge chance at level 5, that's pretty good. Actually, it's the same at level 4. And so the stealth for 1 to 2 turns depending on 4 or 5. If Jubilee is an ally, it heals 5 to 10% depending on what you have here. And it's this thing here though, in raids on turn, apply defense up to the 2 most injured Astonishing X-Men allies, and on enemy turn apply evade. So What's interesting about this one, though, is if she's the only one in the raid, if you're running her by herself, she actually constantly applies evade to herself. So she actually has a really hard time. I don't even think she can die. I think if you were to run Kitty by herself on a raid team, she would always have evade up, and the only way she would die actually would be multi-hit attacks. I suppose that hit her multiple times, potentially. But she is going to have defense up basically all the time anyways, so I think this is really I think she's really interesting if you had good red stars on here and you wanted to run her by herself outside her team. I think, like we talked about Iceman, I think there's definitely ways that you can use the different characters from the Astonishing X-Men by themselves, or, you know, maybe Iceman and Kitty together. You don't have to use the full team necessarily. Obviously, it's designed for you to have Jubilee, but I think there is something to say here about running them individually. So I think that it's quite interesting, actually. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see, of course. I say that about a lot of things, but I think on the surface, they're a bit better than I first thought. I am willing to adjust my comments from extremely astonishing disappointment. I'm pretty sure that was my tagline for one of my videos a month back, to mildly curious. So I don't know, though, if I'm willing to put T14, T15 kind of resources into them, because that's a lot of ask. That's a big ask for all mutant characters, and I don't have the gear for that personally, and I don't know about you guys. But I am curious. I'm gonna wait and see how other people do. You know, I'm gonna let people, you know, raise them up a bit themselves before I do. But I will get them to a decent level. I'll get them to about tier 12, probably across the board, and then I'll wait for other people to kind of, you know, try them out in tier 14, tier 15 kind of aspects, see if they're worth it, see if they're something that I want to do or not. And otherwise, you know, they'll make for a decent war defense team, possibly, with Beast. I'm lucky that I'll be able to get Jubilee, though. So now that we know that, of course, and going back to this, I want to point this out really quick for you guys in case you missed it. Pretty sure it's down at the bottom here, but your character availability. So if you are trying to get Jubilee unlocked, we do have Stature and Yellow Jacket, 2 coming at the same time. This might be coming up on Wednesday, so this is a bit surprising. We get Stature, Cosmic 1-9. This is actually fairly friendly. This isn't very difficult of a farm. Pretty sure the enemies are like 15 to 20k power max, so this won't be too difficult to clear. Yellow Jacket, Doom 3-6. This is a bit more difficult to get, but at least they're making it available for late mid-game players and late-game players to get. So Yellow Jacket is, of course, also in the real-time arena right now, so if you need more shards for him there, you can get upwards to 145/100 shards for Yellow Jacket on top of farming from Doom 3-6. So, you know, I don't know how much time we're going to have between, let's say, this coming Wednesday and the release of Jubilee. If Jubilee is going to be the end of patch 5.1, I don't know. So I don't know how much time there's going to be available to farm. But at least that they're making all 5 of the characters available to farm. Ghost being in the War Store, of course, and now Stature and Yellow Jacket come to farm. So, got to give them props for, you know, for that they're actually they're not going the Black Bolt route. A lot of us thought that maybe that they might make these characters unfarmable for the first pass, and it would be kind of like a whale sort of pay-to-win unlock, and it might still be for some people, but you know, at least they're giving us a way to be able to do it free to play if you so desire, if that's something you want to do. Now, if you don't have Ghost to 5-star or 4-star or wherever, you know, you're gonna need to divert your war credits into Ghost for that. So if you're trying to get into Dark Dimension 3, Dark Dimension 4, you're unfortunately gonna have to make that decision about whether or not you want to use your war credits for Jubilee, or to get Ghost for Jubilee, or, you know, sacrifice your G15 mini uniques. So for me, luckily I don't have to make that choice. I do have Ghost at 5-star, so I don't need to sacrifice my war credits for Ghost right now, so I'm happy about that. But for the rest of you guys, you're going to have to decide if the Astonishing X-Men is a team that you're going to want to bring up or not. If you're going to want to use your war credits for Ghost to get up to 5-star so you can unlock Jubilee, that's a personal decision that you're going to have to make. And I can't tell you what you want to do, but if this is a team that kind of looks good for you, if you don't really have a solid raid team yet to invest in, it might be something that you might want to consider. And of course, consider your red stars, because that actually makes a huge difference. And unfortunately, it makes all the difference in the world. You know, if you pull the red stars for all the Astonishing X-Men and you only have 2 or 3 red stars, that is going to be quite tough over other teams that you might have better red stars for. So I just wanted to throw that out for you guys, and just wanted to kind of go over the Astonishing X-Men here a little bit here. Talk about Bishop and Jubilee like we did, and then Iceman and Kitty. Beast is out there. You guys can look at him on your own time. He's mostly just like a light healer with some buffing potential and some extra regen. But other than that, I think most of the kit's going to be coming from all of the newer characters coming out. So, yeah, and get onto that blitzing for Kitty Pryde if you want to get some more yellow stars for her there. But that's all I'm going to say about the Astonishing X-Men right now. I'm sure there's going to be more to go over, though, in the coming weeks. So as we get closer to patch 5.1, and actually figuring out when Jubilee's going to come around. Like I said, usually the legendary characters are kind of towards the end of the patch cycle, but we'll have to see whether or not that there is going to be anything earlier on or not. So we'll have to wait for that. What standalone tier do you think Jubilee is? To be honest, hey, anyone in live chat wanna guess what I might say? I honestly, I don't think she has a lot. I don't think she has a huge amount of... I think Doc Ock is a much better legendary standalone than Jubilee is. Just going back over the... Sorry, my throat's a bit dry here. All that constant talking. Okay. I think that... I would actually say that. I think if I had to say, I would maybe put Jubilee in a B+. I don't know if my tier list has a B+, but it's not. She's not quite a B, and she's not quite an A. So I think that she's going to be worth investing in, but how much you want to will be up to you. I think that there's not going to be... In my opinion, she's not an arena meta character. She doesn't look like she's going to be an arena meta character. The problem is this. So Plasmoid Party, her special, is okay, but she's only going to get... So she's only going to get 2 assists here from non-Astonishing X-Men allies, instead of all of them if they were Astonishing X-Men. I'm actually glad that at least she's getting assists from non-Astonishing X-Men. I don't remember that being mentioned in the blog post previously a couple weeks ago, or before Christmas or whenever that was. So at least she'll get 2 assists. And this part will also work. So if she manages to get the kill, she'll still spread the negative effects, but it'll be a lot harder when she's only getting 2 assists rather than 4 assists from all the other Astonishing X-Men allies. And of course the offense up is only to self. If you're not running her with the team, it's self only. So I'll be honest, I'm kind of disappointed. I kind of wish this was all allies and not Astonishing X-Men allies. I don't think that would have been OP if... Let's put it this way. Red Skull's ultimate does offense up to everyone, regardless of if you're Hydra or not. So for that reason, I don't see why for a legendary character, I don't see why they couldn't have just give offense up to all characters. I mean, that should have been fine, I think. Ultimate Splitting Atoms, it's okay. 450% piercing, this is fine. Actually, it's a pretty good, single target damage attack. All others for 200. It's not crazy amount of damage, +1 slow. It's okay. To be honest, this is basically like... I would like to compare this to Symbiote Spider-Man, actually. Let me bring up Symbiote Spider-Man's ultimate, because I want to see what the damage is by comparison. So, Web Slam here. 340% damage, plus apply stun. So let's go back. 400% damage, 50% piercing, and apply stun. So this is 340 at level 7. Apply stun, attack all other enemies for 260. For 200 plus 50% piercing. So okay, with the piercing damage, it's probably about the same, maybe a little bit more. And apply slow to all, +1 slow to all enemies. And this is slow to all enemies for 2 turns. This attack is unavoidable and cannot be blocked. So in raids apply, obviously this gets the offense down. Outside of, I think they're very comparable. Symbiote Spider-Man's ultimate and Jubilee's ultimate is very comparable, I think, outside of raids. Obviously, this gets the nod a little bit for raids because of offense down for 2 turns in raids specifically, but yeah, I think it's not far off between Symbiote Spider-Man's ultimate Web Slam and Jubilee's ultimate here. So I think that's just an interesting comparison, because it's a very similar attack in that sense. It's cooldown of 5 though, and this is cooldown of 4. Again, for Legendary, I kind of would have hoped this to be a little bit higher. I don't know, slightly higher on the damage maybe for a Legendary character. What do I think of their description of what defines a Legendary? Was that in the Strike Time video? Because I may have skipped over that, so feel free to paraphrase in the chat if you have what they said on hand. I don't really remember without going through it. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad attack at all. It's fine, but I just don't know if it depends on her damage. Like Lukey said, that I don't know how, because she's not an MSF.GG yet. I don't know how her damage compares to other characters. So if her damage stat is similar to Symbiote Spider-Man, or even a little bit higher, maybe, because she is a controller, right? Controllers actually seem to do really well. Although Symbiote Spider-Man's a brawler, right? Never mind. But controller still actually has some pretty decent damage. My point is that, you know, if she's on par with Symbiote Spider-Man in terms of damage, it might not be too bad, though. Yeah, so she is the linchpin of the team, brings the team together. Absolutely. But we were talking about the sort of standalone damage, like what her standalone potential is. I think that you could, it looks like, because, you know, you can use her standalone in raids, but that's it. So I don't think she has, like, you're not going to want to bring her into Dark Dimension 3 or 4. You know, I don't think so. I don't think that's what you're going to want to do. So she's kind of like Doc Ock in a weird way. Although I feel that Doc Ock is better. Maybe I just really like Doc Ock and I'm kind of Doc Ock biased. I feel like she's Doc Ock in the sense that, you know, Doc Ock was released as a war legendary, and then Doc Ock kind of moved outwards towards, you know, Arena, Real-Time Arena, and these other places that you could have used him in. But I feel that that Jubilee is sort of one under Doc Ock in terms of wider usability. You might be able to get her in the Astonishing X-Men in a war defense team. Maybe, you know, if you keep healing with dodges and things like that. And she has some standalone raid value that you could probably just plop her into another team. But interestingly, this still applies, right? So on enemy death, fill all Astonishing X-Men allies by 25%. So she would keep up with the symbiotes, theoretically, right? Because Carnage gives, what, 30% speed bar? So anytime that somebody is, you know, red or dying or whatever, you know, she's going to get the speed bar as well. So she might be able to keep up with the symbiotes in terms of turn order and be able to, like, keep doing that. So she might be a solid sort of replacement to Scream, maybe? Like, because you're not going to want to dump... you're not going to want to dump Anti-Venom, probably. So if you're going to replace anyone, it's probably going to be Scream. I do really like Scream, though. You know, I think she's really good. She has really high damage. My Scream's tier 14. So frankly, I don't know if I would, but I'm just saying in general, if you wanted to run them with the symbiotes, I think you're probably most likely going to dump Scream out of any of them, because you still want to keep Anti-Venom for the extra buffs and the revive on the symbiotes just in case. And you kind of need that passive defense up, I think, with Venom. I think that's really important. So yeah, if you're going to remove anyone, I think it's going to be Scream, and then just add in Jubilee possibly as some weird combo team for Ultimus if you really wanted to do something like that, maybe. You know, some sort of mixed, I don't know. They said the definition of a legendary, they are the linchpin of the team. Yeah, I mean, almost all legendary characters have this, you know, these sort of like plus stats to their team. You know, I don't know anyone who hasn't had that. So the question, though, is how good is she going to be outside the team? I think a lot of people, yeah, I think absolutely right there. I think Doc Ock was definitely slept on for the first, like, 2 months, month and a half, and then as he came back around towards closer to the second time, people were like, oh, okay, we're starting to use him more, Real-Time Arena, you know, all these other places, and I actually love Doc Ock. So I don't know if you guys got how many of you guys got Doc Ock unlocked. I love playing with him. He's also a lot of fun. You know, for an old team like the Sinister Six, even though they brought in Swarm and Electro, he's a lot of fun to play with, and I think his kit is really nice. He's really fast. He can extend negative stats effects. His damage is actually pretty high for a support character. I'm sure you guys have watched me in my sort of various Doc Ock sort of gameplay footage, both on live stream and on just in general that I probably put out. You know, I like playing with him. I like playing with him in RTA as well, and he's just an all-around fun character. Is Jubilee going to be like that for me? I don't know, because I don't really need that many more raid characters, and I've said this before, you know, I don't really need that many more raid teams, but